Welcome to Shadows of Legacy, where truth replaces silence and history is finally heard. For centuries, the world has tried to erase the power, brilliance, and legacy of Africa's greatest leaders. These weren't just kings and queens. They were visionaries, warriors, and symbols of strength whose influence still echoes today. From the empires of West Africa to the highlands of Ethiopia, their stories defy the distorted narratives we've been told. Today, we don't just tell their stories, we restore them. Let's begin in 17th century Angola, with Queen Nzinga of Ndongo and Matamba. When the Portuguese arrived, driven by greed for land and human lives, Nzinga didn't just resist, she became the resistance. She was an immovable force against colonization. She was a master diplomat, a brilliant military strategist, and a fierce protector of her people for over 3 decades. There's a famous story about her that perfectly captures her spirit. During negotiations with the Portuguese governor, he deliberately refused her a chair, forcing her to stand as a sign of disrespect. Without missing a beat, Nzinga calmly gestured for one of her servants to kneel on all fours, creating a human throne for her. She sat down, looking the governor directly in the eye, and conducted the entire meeting from her human chair. The message was unmistakable. No one would ever place her beneath them. Nzinga's life reminds us that true power is never simply given. It is taken, it is protected, and it is preserved against all odds. Now, let's travel to the 14th century and the Mali Empire. Imagine a man so wealthy that his generosity could disrupt the economies of entire nations. That was Mansa Musa. But his story isn't just about gold, it's about vision, faith, and strategic genius. He was far more than just the richest person in history. His legendary pilgrimage to Mecca in 1324 wasn't just a spiritual journey, it was a geopolitical masterstroke. As his massive caravan, laden with gold, crossed the Sahara and moved through cities like Cairo, he literally put West Africa on the global map. But the real treasure wasn't what he gave away, it was what he brought back. He returned with the greatest minds of his time, architects, scholars, poets, and artists. He transformed Timbuktu from a remote trading post into a world-renowned center for knowledge, culture, and innovation. Under his rule, gold flowed freely through his kingdom, but so did wisdom. Mansa Musa. His legacy is a powerful lesson. True wealth isn't found in hoarding power or resources. It's measured by how you uplift your community and build a legacy for generations to come. If you're connecting with these stories and want more truth like this, please take a moment to like, share, and comment. It helps us reach more people. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Let's grow this family of truth seekers together. Now, back to it. Fast forward to the 20th century. While much of the world was falling under colonial control, one African emperor stood defiant against a rising global empire, Haile Selassie of Ethiopia. In 1935, when Mussolini's fascist Italy invaded Ethiopia, Selassie didn't surrender. He took his nation's plea for sovereignty to the world stage. He journeyed to the League of Nations in Geneva and delivered one of the most powerful speeches of the 20th century. He warned the world that inaction in the face of aggression would lead to global catastrophe. And he was right. Though his plea was initially ignored, he became a towering symbol of African sovereignty and anti-colonial resistance. His courage inspired independence movements across the globe, from the Rastafari movement in Jamaica, who saw him as a divine figure, to activists in the U.S. civil rights era. Haile Selassie's leadership was more than political. It was spiritual. He was living proof that Africa could and would rise and rule itself again. Finally, we turn to a name that evokes both fear and admiration: Shaka Zulu. In the early 1800s, Shaka was a military genius without equal. He took a collection of small, scattered clans in southern Africa and forged them into the mighty and unified Zulu nation. His impact was revolutionary. He completely transformed the art of warfare. He introduced new tactics, like the iconic bullhorn formation, which allowed his forces to encircle and overwhelm their enemies. He armed his warriors with the short-stabbing spear, the ekelwa, a far more effective weapon for close-quarters combat. While his reign was undeniably controversial and marked by intense conflict, no one could question his strategic brilliance. Shaka's story proves that the strength of a disciplined mind and a clear vision can overcome even the greatest numerical disadvantage. He showed the world that true leadership requires bold innovation, not just brute force. So why do these stories matter today? Because these monarchs weren't just symbols of a distant past. They laid the foundation for a future that is still fighting to be free. Their wisdom, their courage, and their pride have been buried under centuries of deliberate distortion and colonial narratives. But here, in Shadows of Legacy, we are digging them back up. We are clearing away the dust, and we are speaking their names loud for the world to hear. History didn't forget them. It was forced to, but we remember. And we will continue to speak. This is Shadows of Legacy, and the silence ends here. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.